You know that specific physical sensation when you see Family Dinner Sunday 5 p.m. pop up on your digital calendar. Your stomach immediately drops, your throat tightens. For a split second, you genuinely consider faking a mild illness just to get out of it. And then immediately after the relief of that thought, the guilt sets in. You ask yourself, what is wrong with me? Why am I so antisocial? Why can't I just be normal and love my family like everyone else? Listen closely. You are not broken. You are not a bad person, and you are definitely not alone. Science actually has a very specific explanation for why walking into your childhood home feels less like a warm hug and more like entering an emotional minefield. It turns out your brain is reacting to something called obligatory socialization. Unlike hanging out with friends, which is a choice, family gatherings are often viewed by your nervous system as a mandatory performance. When you feel that exhaustion, it is not because you hate people. It is because you are entering a high-stakes environment where the rules of engagement were written 20 years ago. You are stepping into a time machine that is glitching. In the next few minutes, we are going to break down the 3 specific types of people who struggle with this event. Type 1 is the obvious avoider. Type 2 is the victim of a biological time warp. But type 3 is the one you need to pay attention to, because what looks like hatred is actually a hidden superpower that proves you might be the healthiest person in the room. Before we fix this, we need to understand exactly which type you are. Let's look at the first category, the strategic avoider. If this is you, your body is physically present at the gathering, but your mind is constantly calculating an escape route. You are the person who volunteers to wash the dishes, not because you love cleaning, but because the kitchen sink is the only socially acceptable place to avoid eye contact. You might find yourself taking unexpectedly long trips to the bathroom just to scroll through your phone in silence. You aren't doing this to be rude. You are doing this to regulate your nervous system. Your social battery isn't just draining, it is leaking. You are performing what psychologists call managing your facial expressions and suppressing your true feelings to keep the peace. This burns glucose in the brain faster than solving a complex math problem. However, the second type is where things get fascinatingly biological. This is the time traveler. Have you ever noticed that you can be a fully functioning, successful adult in your daily life? Perhaps you manage a team, you pay a mortgage, you set boundaries, but the second you step through your parents' front door, you revert into a moody teenager. You might find yourself slamming doors or getting irrationally angry over a comment about your haircut. This is not a character flaw. This is a psychological phenomenon known as family systems theory. Think of your family dynamic like a play where everyone was assigned a role 20 years ago. The responsible one, the screw-up, the peacemaker. Even though you have grown and changed, the rest of the cast is still reading from the old script. When you walk into that environment, your brain activates deep, dormant neural pathways associated with that old role. It is a form of regression. You are trying to run your current updated software on old, outdated hardware, and your system crashes. You feel exhausted because you are fighting a subconscious battle to maintain your identity against a group of people who only see who you used to be. But there is a third type of person, and this is where the story changes completely. If you feel a deep, visceral resistance to these gatherings, it might not be because you are regressing. It might be because you are evolving. We call this type the cycle breaker. Here is the truth that is hard to swallow. Often the person who hates the family gathering the most is actually the most emotionally healthy person in the room. Why? Because you are the only one who has woken up. You have spent time working on yourself. You have learned about boundaries, about emotional regulation, and about healthy communication. When you go back into that environment, you aren't just seeing your family, you are seeing the patterns. You notice the passive-aggressive comments that everyone else ignores. You see the emotional manipulation that is disguised as tradition. You feel the lack of privacy that is framed as closeness. Your hatred is actually your intuition screaming at you. It is a compatibility error. You have upgraded your internal operating system, but you are trying to connect with a network that is still running on a virus-filled version of Windows 95. The pain you feel isn't because you are antisocial. It is the friction of growth. You are trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, but you have forgotten that you are the one who sharpened the edges of that peg. You are no longer willing to numb yourself just to make others comfortable. That exhaustion, it's not a defect. It is the cost of holding up a mirror in a room full of people who refuse to look at their own reflections. You are feeling the weight of the dysfunction because you are the only one no longer carrying it willingly. So scientifically, what is physically happening inside your skull during these moments? When you step into that house, your amygdala, the ancient threat detection center of your brain, lights up. It remembers the feeling of being powerless as a child. It instantly hijacks your prefrontal cortex, the logical part of your brain that knows you are an adult who pays taxes. You are literally experiencing a cognitive glitch. You are a time traveler stuck between two timelines, who you were then and who you are now. The exhaust you feel is your brain frantically trying to bridge that gap. But here is the powerful reframe. This glitch is not a failure. It is a signal. It is a dashboard warning light telling you that your internal capacity has outgrown your external environment. That dread you feel is actually your autonomy coming online. It is telling you that you are ready to build your own traditions. You do not have to cut everyone off to find peace, but you do have permission to change the terms of engagement. You can stay at a hotel instead of sleeping in your childhood bedroom to keep your adult identity intact. You can leave early. You can say no to the guilt trip without explaining yourself. Your mental health is not a sacrifice you owe to your lineage. True family connection is built on mutual respect, not historical obligation. If you find yourself resonating with type 3, take a deep breath. You aren't destroying the family structure. You are breaking the cycle for the generation that comes after you. You are building a new definition of home, one that doesn't require you to shrink just to fit through the door. So which one are you, the avoider, the time traveler, or the cycle breaker? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, your feelings are valid and your boundaries are necessary. Don't forget to subscribe to Human Deciphered.